as we deal with some of the elements and talk about the conditions, not just here in Toronto, not just across the region of southern Ontario, but across all of Canada, across the U.S. as well. Winter definitely taking hold. So I do want to just quickly do a pan around, and you can see conditions here. We're in North York, so we're just kind of on the north side of Toronto, and it has been snowing since about 7 this morning. The Toronto District School Board, the Toronto Catholic School Board, both closing for the first time since I think 2011, and that was kind of a weird situation this morning because the snow hadn't even started, and already school boards were closing up across Toronto and really all of southern Ontario, and rightfully so. It has been very windy, at times visibility down to 0. Next up, freezing rain, and that definitely is going to limit the amount of snow we get as we move through the rest of the day. So this is not going to be a 25 centimeter storm for the city of Toronto, but you should also get out there and shovel sooner rather than later, because it's it's going to start raining later, and eventually all this is going to freeze up. Another aspect, we've had 2 very different storms in the last few weeks. A 33 centimeter slamming in late January, and then we had an ice pellet storm last week that also caused traffic delays and some school cancellations. This is a mixture of the two, but the big difference is the wind, and it has been gusty. 59 kilometers per hour still at Pearson Airport, up to 80 kilometers per hour at the Island Airport, and I know Porter flights are having trouble with all the snow and ice. And it's not just Toronto. It is surrounding areas, so sometimes your flight can get out, but the plane hasn't even arrived because it's coming in from Chicago, where they've had an ice storm, or it's coming from New York, where they've had ice and snow as well, or maybe it's coming from the West Coast, Seattle, where it's been snowing and snowing to record proportions in Seattle and Vancouver. So here, not too bad. I do want to take you now to Vancouver, where, especially Vancouver Island, anywhere from 30 to 50 centimeters falling in places like Nanaimo. Vancouver itself is in for another 5 to 10 centimeters throughout the day today. This on top of the 10 centimeters that fell last night, another 10 the day before that. And by the way, Vancouver residents, you often just have to wait. You have to wait for that snow to melt, because snowplows are not like they are in Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto. So I want to take you back to the weather system, and we'll show you where this system is headed. So there is our color-coded radar. Rain already in southwestern Ontario. It's snow around Toronto mixed with ice, and just starting now in Kingston, headed for Ottawa. And there's a look at your watches and warnings. A freezing rain warning for the Niagara area, London. It would not surprise me if we get a freezing rain warning here in Toronto, maybe replacing the winter storm warning once the heavy snow is done. And the commute home is not going to be easy this afternoon. As we head east, Montreal, Quebec City, dealing with it later today. And then Atlantic Canada, Halifax, Fredericton. Fredericton could get 30 centimeters, and it looks like an icy mix for places like Halifax. So this system has far reaches and numerous warnings. And globalnews.ca, we had a story yesterday about the inclement weather basically across all of Canada, all of North America pretty much, in the northern states. And these are 2 separate systems that are wreaking havoc. And there's a look at the radar out west. Seattle's still dealing with snow, Vancouver as well. And as that comes over the Rockies, it dries out a lot. But Calgary is just one of the cities in the prairies that has had just no relief since Groundhog's Day. The temperature hovering around minus 23 this morning, the wind chill minus 30, and that's what Calgary residents have been saying, that they can deal with cold for a couple of days, but oftentimes they get saved by a Chinook wind. That's not the case this time. Those winds are going to stay from the east, and over the course of the next week it'll be a bit better with highs in the minus teens, but it is just cold in Alberta. A place like Saskatoon, also familiar with frigid air, well, they got above minus 20 for the first time since February 2nd yesterday. and that was after a few days of minus 50 wind chills. So it is getting a touch better, but still the cold is centered in the west. So as we get back to the weather system, I do want to show you the warnings out towards that direction. Vancouver, still under a snowfall warning. We do have a winter storm warning for parts of extreme eastern BC. Calgary just on the edge of that extreme cold warning. Edmonton still in it as well, although this encompassed all of the prairies last week, so now just a fraction of what it was before. And there's those afternoon temperatures, minus 28 in Saskatoon. You know it's been cold when I'm saying it's warming up, and you have a minus 20 in Calgary. Vancouver's still below freezing as well. So what is causing all this weather? What is going on? Well, this is your jet stream, and anytime the jet goes up over Alaska and then sinks down off the west coast of BC, it allows that cold Arctic air to invade that area. And as long as this pattern doesn't change, well, that cold doesn't moderate much. It's still February after all, and the sun angle isn't quite high enough to get the warm up due to the sun. So we wait, and the pattern is going to change. I do expect this cold to start moving more into the east as the stormy pattern starts to change, but that is still a week or so away.